What is up? How you doing? And welcome to this episode of the Foreigner Podcast, the podcast from your host Andre Günther that is all about exchange programs and living abroad in general. My name is Andre Günther, and I got all the information you'll need for anything related to that kind of matter. So if you're in any way interested, check this episode out. And to help me reach others with the education, please share and like this episode just as every other episode you liked. And today, I have something that is kind of different than usual, because today I have the first thing related to host families. And I'm really excited to present it to you, because it's a thing that is happening to me right now. I am becoming a host family member. Yes. So that's why let's just dive right into this. And as I said, that this is just a new thing for me now too, is because it's the week before the first exchange student we're hosting with me actually being at home arrives. So when I was in the US, my parents hosted a girl from Thailand, and now that I'm back, we wanted to host someone again. So we decided to host an exchange student as well. And she is coming on Sunday, but I don't know how she's feeling about the podcast yet, so I don't want to give out any more information other than that. No episode of this podcast would be a worthy episode without having a nice structure, and which is why I'll present it to you right now. Get ready for this structure that I always present to you. First thing, the main part of this episode. Today, I'll be talking about preparing to become a host family. And subpoints of that would be what to do before deciding to even become a host family, and what to do after you decided, but you haven't met your student yet. So, you know, a student is coming, but he or she is not at your house, at your place yet. And then, of course, as always, there will be a quote of the episode and an item of the episode, where I will present a quote and an item that helps or helped me to just get my mind into all of that matter of exchanges and living abroad, because it's such a great thing. So I hope you are as excited as I am to get right into the main part of this episode. This is what is dealing with all of my life as of right now. I'm thinking about these things since a long time, and this is why I'm really excited to get into it. So no more waiting now. Here we go. I want to give you some advice on what to do before even deciding to become a host family. So the situation is, you heard of an exchange or being an exchange family, and you know that there should be students from other countries coming to your family and living with you or whatever, but you don't really know anything yet. So there's some couple important steps for you to follow, or just to think about doing, that will help you to make the decision in some point. So the first one of that would be to get informed. And that sounds, of course, pretty obvious. I mean, you need to know what you're actually talking about this. So read a book, talk to someone that is maybe in an organization or that has been a host family. Watch YouTube videos, just anything. Listen to my podcast or whatever. Just get informed. And not just get informed about being a host family, but also get informed about the exchange as a whole. So what do the exchange students go through? And just all that kind of stuff. Because that's really important for you to know as a host family, so that you understand the student that is coming to your house, and that you know in advance what is in the future for you, and like what will be the challenges you'll have to face. So getting informed is really important. And for that, thing that helps, the getting informed thing, is to get first-hand experiences from a seasoned family, like through YouTube diaries or blogs. There are lots of host families that document their own experience with having an exchange student on YouTube, or they write blogs, and it's really important to read those, because these are the best and most credible sources. I mean, they had it for themselves, they experienced it. So you should definitely check that out. That's a really important thing. We did as well. Or, well, my parents did as well before they hosted our first exchange student. I just prepared for my own exchange. Then, after you're really informed, there's a really important thing to do. And that's a must do. You need to educate everyone in the family enough so that they can make an independent judgment, which means you have to explain it to your children, or if you're a child, you have to explain it to your parents, and you want to know that. Everyone needs to know as much as possible about it, and they need to understand it, because in the end, which I will come to later, is that the whole family needs to decide to actually take off the exchange student, which is why everyone needs to know enough to make an educated judgment and not just say, oh, well, mom says we're taking an exchange student, so I guess we are now. That is not a thing that should happen. But within the family, I mean in the family. That means maybe your grandparents, if you have a lot of contact to them, and it's easy to see that your exchange student will have to do a lot with them too, but that's about it. So your extended family should not be in there so much yet. You don't need to hang in their ears and just chew off their ears by just telling them everything you know about exchange programs. That's not gonna make them like your process that you're going through, or, with process that you're going through. I mean, they won't like the decision to take an exchange student if you just keep annoying them with the matter before you have even decided. And in the end, it's your decision. You're hosting them, not your friends that you meet twice a year. So you need to be informed, them not so much. The fourth thing to do is to discuss hosting exchange students or an exchange student with your whole family, and to make a pro and con list. In the whole family, sit together and just talk about it. You need to talk it out. You need to find what are your issues you got with that. Why do you want to do that? You need to find motivation, and you need to find bad things about it. There are not only good things, and I will just name the biggest one of these at the end. It's really important that you discuss that, which is why step 5 is to repeat step 4, to again discuss and make a pro and con list and really get your mind to it. You need to really have this thought through. Not just, oh, that sounds cool, let's do it. No, you have to really mean it, and you have to really know what's the problem with that and what problems might be. And you need to make sure that, in most cases and with most organizations, they will not pay you. So this means this will cost you money, which is the biggest problem. You will pay for that exchange student for stuff like food and shelter and whatever things that they can't pay and you need to pay. So you need to be clear of that. And if you can't afford it, then maybe you shouldn't do it. Because if the exchange student would break your limits and would make you go to poverty or have you work 60 hours a week, that's not an enjoyable life for anyone. So that's why if you can't, you don't need to do it. And you need to keep that in your mind. But also, you need to keep in your mind that it will give you incredible emotional and mental gains. You will experience so many happy periods. You will make so many great memories, also as a family. And you will just gain a lot from it. And so this is why I would say, from just being already preparing for an exchange, having seen my great host family and having talked to my family about this, we think that the mental and emotional gains are more important than the bit of money you lose. But this is a personal thing, and if you think that it's too expensive, then maybe it's not the right thing for you. But let's get off this sad kind of matter and let's talk about something better. You need to discuss in your family what you can do for the exchange students, so what you can teach them and how everything practically works. So you need to be prepared of what you want to do with them, like in a vague kind of matter. Because if you're just like, oh yeah, the person's gonna come and that's about it, and you're not prepared at all, it's not gonna be enjoyable for a long time. So you need to have a plan on what you actually want to do, what you can do, what you cannot do. If you live somewhere in the mountains and the ocean is far away, you can't be like, oh yeah, an exchange student should see the ocean. We'll fly there somehow. I don't know, but you can't really afford it. You need to have a small plan, like some kind of idea what is possible to do and what is not. because you can't just go into there with having no preparation at all. And this is also a personal preparation. So you need to set your mind to what can you do with them and how does it work. You can't just say, oh yeah, we'll do a 1 month vacation, but there are no holidays that go for 4 months, for 1 month, for 4 weeks. So that's why maybe you should plan ahead. And the eighth thing is really important too, I would say. You need to make a list already in the family of some rules that are essential for the student to follow. Which is a thing that sounds kind of weird because rules will be bent and you'll have to make the rules with the host student there too so they understand it. But imagine this. You just kept it in your family that, I don't know, when someone's in the bathroom, nobody, I don't know, goes in. I mean, you could lock the door, but in some cultures like America, they don't. So that's a rule for Americans. And of course, Germans are being taught that. But if you have things like that in your house, but maybe not in your culture, that's an important thing. Like in America, if a door is shut, it's locked and nobody opens it. So in Germany, that's not the way. If my door is closed right now, but my parents could walk in on me anytime and without knocking, because that's just the way it is. If I wanted them to keep out, I would have to somehow signal it to them by putting a sheet of paper out there saying, please don't come in, or I'd have to lock my door. But that's not a thing in Germany. So that is why if you have any rules like that are really important to your house and to your family, you need to set them up and they're essential. So you need to be sure about them and you need to confirm with all the family that they have to be followed and they have to be enforced. Now, after in your family you've decided on that you maybe want to take an exchange student, you already got an idea what you can do, what you can provide, what the rules would be, and you really kind of want to do it finally, then talk to different organizations. You have to find an organization that helps you host the exchange student, that you get the exchange student over with, and you have to find the right organization for you. As I already wrote in my ebook, which I will be talking about later real quick. So much ad. You'll have to find a good organization that fits to you and that is good for you, that you think will help you. So that's why you should talk to different organizations, get information from them. Some pay, some don't, and just pick an organization that fits your need and that you feel comfortable with. And then decide on an organization to host with, depending on your needs. What you need is what they have to deliver, and you have to find the best one for you, as I said earlier. So make sure also that you know it's totally okay if you or your student and your student don't fit together. It's not a shame if you have to switch your host student, or if you have to, if your host student has to switch the host family to you and you have to give them away. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. It just doesn't, which is why you need to be sure that you don't have to feel like you made a fool of yourself or you're a shame for all host families. No, that's okay. And of course, you should try to find a way to work it out. But if it just doesn't work, that's okay too. And that's normal. So don't worry about that. And after you're sure on that, you found an organization you want to host, you need to decide on a student. And you don't just go through all the profiles and say, make a point system and say, this one has the most points on our system, let's take him or let's take her. No, you should wait for the oh yeah effect. That's how I call it. You read through the profiles that seem interesting to you, and if there's a student, you just read their profile and you just think, that's the one. Take this person. Because that will just... that your guts, your stomach is a great way to find the right exchange student and to find someone that you feel comfortable with. And of course, if they are, if you're a Christian, you read their profile, you say, oh hell yeah, but turns out they are heavily Satanist and like to sacrifice pigs, well, maybe then it doesn't work. So always have a common sense. And yeah, but if there's an oh yeah moment, then take them. And that's your exchange student. Then, after you already picked your exchange student, you need to get ready. Emotionally, and just prepare everything you need. You need to be happy, you need to be hyped to get your exchange student, and you need to get ready. You can't just decide on an exchange student and then push it out of your mind, and the week before, oh, yeah, by the way, we're getting an exchange student. We didn't know that in the family, we forgot that. That's not a thing that should happen. You should get ready, and you should keep that in your mind. But now, after you've heard all of these advices, you'll still need some more information on what to do after deciding. So that you'll want to host an exchange student, and with which organization. After that is found, now to what to do after having decided and before the student already actually comes. The first thing again is now to break the news to your extended family and friends. So those people that the exchange student will be interfering with, or that you're close with, you need to inform them, because if you just come up to them like, oh yeah, by the way, this is our exchange student from, I don't know, Russia, and he's gonna be staying with us for a year, they might feel a little stunned and don't know what to say, because that's a big decision to make. So after you've decided already, you need to talk to them, so they don't even have the idea of talking you out of that, but so they have time to cope with the news and to get themselves ready too, because they might meet your exchange student. Then you should early start to think about welcome gifts. They should not be too big, but they should be material. So don't use something like, we're doing a trip to this castle as your welcome gift. Because you'll make those gifts anyway, so in the end they won't be that special. It should be something a little bit more special, but stuff they can use. So my host parents gave me 2 big, really big family size bottles of soap and some candy and useful stuff. Well, soap is, no, it was shampoo, I think. Yeah, it was shampoo for the shower. So that was a thing that really helped me, because I didn't have to buy any more shampoo for half a year, and that was just great. And that's a thing that you could give your exchange student as a welcoming gift. I mean, it's beneficial to them. It's material. It's not something weird. It's totally normal for everyone to use it. So that's great. Or, I don't know, get them an air refresher for their room and give them different flavors. Flavors? No. Smells, different smells. So they can make their room smell however they want it to smell. That's a nice thing to do. And that's a little gesture. That's not a big thing. That's not super expensive. But it's a nice gesture. Which is why you should definitely consider something like that. Then, as I already said, make the room smell. You should prepare the room for your exchange student, but do that right before they arrive. So don't have their bed made for 3 months and just look at it every day and be super excited for them to actually come, but it's still 3 more months. So do it right before they come, because that will also get you in the mindset of, wow, they're actually here in a few days. That's amazing. So, which is why preparing the room is like a ceremonial thing for all the family. They prepare themselves and the house for the exchange student to arrive. And of course, if the exchange student should sleep in the room with one of your children, well, that's the way it is. And then prepare their side, prepare their bed, prepare their wardrobe or whatever. Just prepare something for them, because that will get you into the mindset. And that's a great thing to have. And also a great thing is, that will get you in the mind, of course, to plan out the first 2 or 3 days after they come. Of course, give them 1 day of rest maybe, but then plan it out to do something with them. as long as the school hasn't started, of course, because your exchange student will be super over it anyway, and they will be really shocked from the culture shock and just having to talk whatever language they now have to talk in. So that will just make them even more stunned and won't get them out of anything because they're not into anything right now. And for me, it was great because I think the weekend after I arrived, so 4 days after I arrived, I think, we did a huge road trip for, I think, 4 hours is what we drove to our host grandparents. And we visited some sites like the spring of the Mississippi. Yeah, I think it's the spring of the Mississippi. Where the Mississippi started in the US. So that was a great thing. I really love that, which is why I personally advise that for you to do. And that's just a great thing. But of course, don't make it super stiff, because what happens if your exchange student is just so over it that they lay in bed a lot, don't have that much power, maybe get sick because it's just so much to them and they just can't take it? Well, if you planned a cruise through, I don't know, cruise through the Caribbean, then that maybe is not a good idea. So don't make it anything that big. But, I don't know. Do it if you're in Germany and we have lots of castles, a load of castles. Just make a castle tour and just visit castles all day for 3 days straight or stuff like that. And make it really interesting. That's a good thing, I think. Because Americans love, people from cultures out of Europe, they love castles, especially Americans. And now a thing that was pretty personal, but that I loved so much, is think about special sayings or sentences that you'll teach your student, because that's a super funny thing and a great bonding experience. So if there's a saying unique to your area, or just some sayings that you say and not a lot of other people, teach your exchange student, and that's kind of your thing, that saying. Since I lived with 2 host dads, they taught me a lot of gay slang, and it was just super funny because we could talk in that kind of slang and not a lot of people in my school did. So that was like our thing, and we would use the slang to make fun of each other and to just tease and fool around. That was really funny, and that was a great bonding experience. Now when I hear those terms by watching YouTube or anything, I always think of them and have to smile, so that's a great thing. Oh my god, I said great things so often in that one. Well, let's get on. You should make up your mind of what you think seems easy to understand for you, but won't be for your exchange student. As an example, if you come from a culture where they don't ride their bikes on the street, and then you go to Germany where we do, it may be really difficult for the exchange student to understand that. Because in Germany we all ride our bikes on the street. It's even a law that after a certain age we have to drive our bike on the street, but in other countries they don't. And just getting into all of that can be really important for your student. So regard things like that and make up your mind that you have to teach them those things right after they come. And maybe do a bike tour with them if that's the case. Because that can, especially the bike thing, can get really, really dangerous because your student can get hurt. But enough of the warning. You should also think about the important cultural values of your life and try to find easy explanations so you are prepared if the students ask you. So if you have cultural things that are really important to you, like praying or whatever, and they ask you why you do that, you should be prepared and not just be like, oh, well, that's the way you do it, because that won't explain it to the student and they won't really get that much from it. They'll just know, well, that's what they do, but they don't know why. So if there are historical things, like in Germany, because Martin Luther lived here, who did the Reformation thing, we have a holiday called Reformation Day. I don't think it's a statewide. It's nationwide, but it's in my state of for sure. So these are things like that you should be prepared of explaining to your student. And that's pretty much it. That shouldn't be a hard thing for you. Now let's get to the 8th point. The 8th point you should do before your exchange student actually arrive is to get hyped. Your exchange student is gonna come soon, and it's gonna be such an amazing experience. You're gonna have so much fun together. Get hyped, get into that mindset, and just be ready, be happy, and just get all of your mind into it again, and again, and again, and again. Get hyped. That's important. Okay, after saying great thing and get hyped a lot, let's get to the quote of the episode. Today I have a great quote from Princess Diane. It's, "Family is the most important thing in the world," which is true, and it's also true for exchange programs and exchange students as well. Because you need to think of it. They leave their family for 1 year in hope to find a new one, and they go to you. So you need to be that family for them. You should go in there with the mindset of winning a new family member, and they need to go in there with the meaning to get a new family. Because if you go into the whole experience with that kind of mindset, it's just gonna be great. But you shouldn't think like, oh yeah, that's just a person living in our house for a month and that's about it. No, you're gonna get a family member for life. So go in with that aim. And now let's get to the item of the episode. It's a book, again, yeah, and it's called The Exchange Student Survival Kit. And yes, it's not on exchange families, it's on exchange students. But it also says quite a few things about exchange students in relation to their host family. So you can draw a lot of points from that too. They may not especially say, if you are a host family, do that. But if you think about it for a little, you can find out quite some things on that. Which is why I think it's a really great thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I thank you very much again for listening to this episode. And as always, please like this episode, share it with your friends, help me spread the word, spread the knowledge, and just to help me grow. Also, visit my website, theforeignerpodcast.com, and sign up for my free, it's kind of a newsletter. It's called The Foreigner Podcast Monthly, and it's just one email going out to you every month, just sending you the lessons learned from the episodes of the past month. And it's not going to be a lot. It's like 5 minutes to read. But if you sign up for that, you get a free link to Mediafire where you can download my ebook that I dropped. I wrote an ebook called The 5 Exchange Student Itches Scratched. No, The 5 Worst Exchange Student Scratches Itched. Sorry, I got that one wrong. And it's a great book, I think. Yeah, I think that. But I mean, I wrote it, so you have to decide that. And as always, if you find the book good or not, if you find this episode good or not, if you find my blog good or not, please send me an email to theforeignerpodcast@gmail.com where you tell me your opinion and give me some constructive criticism so I can improve and become a better podcaster. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. Goodbye.